Jard had always been invisible. On the vast orbital hub above Earth, people rushed past him every day. Scientists in crisp uniforms, engineers with toolkits, and visiting dignitaries all had important work. Jard had only a mop and a broom. He cleaned floors, polished panels, and fixed minor problems here and there. No one paid much attention to him, and he liked it that way. The janitor's life was quiet, predictable, and simple. That morning, Jard moved slowly down the main corridor, pushing his mop in rhythmic strokes. The hum of the station's engines was steady, a comfort in its own way. Outside the thick glass walls, Earth spun in perfect blue and green circles, peaceful and distant. Jard liked to watch it sometimes, imagining himself far below among the bustling cities he rarely visited. He had not noticed the commotion that had started near Docking Bay 12. A massive shadow loomed over the hub, and bright lights reflected off the hull of a ship so large it could have been mistaken for a small city. Jard paused, wiping sweat from his forehead, and squinted at the silhouette. The shape was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was sleek, angular, and alive in a strange way. It seemed to shimmer slightly, almost like it was aware of him. The intercom crackled, and an official voice announced that the legendary alien warship had arrived for inspection. The station's staff rushed to prepare for visiting buyers from thousands of worlds. They had called this ship the Wild Star, the most advanced warship ever created by an alien civilization. Rumors said it could destroy planets, travel faster than light, and think independently. 10,000 buyers had already been rejected because the ship would not bond with them. None of them could match the criteria required. Jard paused again. The whole hub seemed to buzz with excitement and anxiety. Scientists debated in low voices, engineers checked their instruments frantically, and security officers stood stiffly, eyes on every hatch and corridor. And Jard, a simple janitor, just stared at the massive ship floating in the docking bay. He was suddenly aware of a vibration beneath his feet, subtle but distinct. The ship hummed softly, a sound not mechanical but organic in some strange sense. Jard shook his head. "I'm imagining things," he muttered, returning to his work, yet a part of him could not resist staring whenever he passed a window. Days went by, and the hub became crowded with representatives from countless alien civilizations. Each day, a new delegation tried to interact with the warship. They extended their hands, touched the hull, activated panels, and spoke in alien languages. Every time the ship would recoil, its energy flares denying them access. The hub's officials sighed in frustration. No one could predict what the ship wanted. Jard watched quietly from the shadows. While others rushed and argued, he continued to clean. Yet every time he passed the ship, it seemed to vibrate in response to him, almost like it recognized something familiar. He laughed nervously. "It's not possible, I'm just a janitor." But the feeling did not go away. One evening, after most of the staff had gone to their quarters, Jard was finishing his rounds. The hub was quiet, lit only by the soft glow of panels and the distant stars outside. He moved a cart with cleaning supplies down the main corridor near Docking Bay 12. The Wild Star floated silently ahead, its hull reflecting the lights of the bay. For the first time, Jard felt a strange pull, as if the ship was calling him. As he pushed his cart closer, a panel at the edge of the docking bay flickered. Curious, Jard reached out to clean it. The moment his fingers touched the smooth surface, the panel lit up with holographic symbols. Bright, alien language swirled in the air, forming a complex interface. Jard stepped back in surprise. "Who's there?" he whispered. No one answered. The symbols shimmered and rearranged themselves, forming shapes that seemed almost like eyes staring at him. Then a voice spoke in his mind, calm and deep, not mechanical but alive. "Human, are you aware? Why do you touch without expectation? Why do you act without desire to own? Yes, the others failed because they wanted control. You simply exist. There is potential." He had read stories about alien ships bonding with humans, but this was impossible. This was a warship of legends, capable of destroying worlds, and it had chosen him. Not a scientist, not a soldier, but him. "Why me?" he asked quietly. The ship's response was calm, almost amused. "Because humans are unpredictable. Your mind thinks in ways the others cannot. Your hands know labor, creation, and care. You can adapt. You are worthy." Over the next few hours, Jard discovered that he could interact with the ship in ways no one else could. He could touch panels, and they would respond. He could issue mental commands, and the ship would perform simple tasks. It repaired itself at his direction, its systems humming in perfect synchronization with his thoughts. Every adjustment, every command felt natural, as if the ship understood him fully. He tried to keep it a secret at first, moving quietly and avoiding the other staff. But soon, small incidents began to reveal the truth. Lights would activate when he approached. Cleaning drones would rearrange themselves perfectly without prompting. A minor repair on the docking bay that had stumped engineers for weeks suddenly completed itself as he walked past. Word began to spread. Staff whispered in awe and disbelief. Some tried to watch, but the ship would remain inert unless Jard was present. The warship, previously untamable, now obeyed him instinctively. And every time he gave a command, he felt a strange satisfaction, a connection he could not explain. Despite the excitement, Jard remained humble. He still mopped floors, he still carried supplies, and he still fixed minor leaks. He did not feel like a hero, nor did he want to. He was simply a human doing what humans did best, adapting, solving problems, and caring for the world around him. One day, representatives from a nearby alien empire approached him boldly, hoping to claim the ship by force or persuasion. Jard stood quietly, unsure how to respond. The ship, sensing danger, extended its energy fields defensively. Holographic weapons appeared along its hull, but Jard had no experience in war. He raised a hand slowly, and the ship paused, waiting. "It's okay," he said. "We don't need to fight them." The ship had chosen him not because of his strength, or his knowledge, or his ambition, but because of his humanity. His quiet mind, his willingness to act without expectation, his empathy and intelligence in simple matters, all of these had made him compatible. As he walked back through the docking bay that evening, mop in hand and floors gleaming behind him, he smiled. Outside, the stars shimmered against the dark void of space. The warship floated silently, enormous and alive, yet responsive to him in a way no one had predicted. Jard still had a long journey ahead. He did not yet know what this bond would demand, nor the challenges he would face. But for the first time, he felt a spark of pride. Humanity, underestimated and ignored, had made its mark. Not with brute force or advanced technology, but with simple intelligence, patience, and adaptability. And somewhere deep within the hull of the Wild Star, a ship of unimaginable power recognized that the smallest human could hold the greatest potential. For Jard, the janitor, life would never be the same again. The universe had chosen him, not because he sought greatness, but because he had lived with purpose in small, quiet ways. And that was exactly what made him extraordinary. Jard spent the next morning quietly exploring the ship. It hovered silently in the docking bay, yet it felt alive, as if breathing in patterns he could not see but could sense. He walked along its hull, touching the smooth metal, and each time he did, tiny lights shimmered in response like a subtle greeting. He felt an unusual mix of awe and responsibility. This was no ordinary ship, it was a mind, and he was now a partner in its life. The ship's voice returned to him, calm and thoughtful. "You have touched me fully. Now you understand the beginning of what I can do. But knowledge is only useful with practice. Will you learn?" It displayed schematics, energy flows, and symbols that seemed incomprehensible at first. "Do not be afraid," the ship said. "You have something the others lacked, intuition. You will understand not because I tell you, but because you explore." To his surprise, the projections responded, rearranging themselves to form simple shapes he could understand. He realized the ship adapted to his thought process. It didn't matter that he didn't know alien engineering. His human creativity, his ability to think differently, allowed him to interact with the ship in ways others could not. Hours passed. Jard cleaned and studied at the same time, experimenting with small systems. He learned how to start and stop engines, how to adjust energy flows, and even how to activate small shields around the docking bay. Every action, every test, increased his confidence. Then came the first real test. A minor security breach occurred in the station. A cargo drone malfunctioned, heading straight for the observation windows of the docking bay. Jard instinctively raised his hand. The ship responded immediately, projecting a force field that stopped the drone midair. Sparks flew as the drone's systems overloaded, but no one was hurt, and the ship quietly deactivated its shields once the danger passed. The staff, who had been watching from a distance, whispered among themselves. A human janitor had just prevented a major accident using the Wild Star, something no scientist or soldier had managed. They began to look at Jard with a mix of disbelief and awe. That evening, Jard sat quietly on the floor of the docking bay. The ship hummed gently around him, lights shifting with his movements. "You are learning fast," the ship said. "I am impressed. Few would understand that power without arrogance. You adapt, and adaptation is survival. You may yet change how others see your species." That's all. Jard discovered he could manipulate energy flows to create small defensive shields, move objects with precision, and even detect weaknesses in alien materials. He realized something remarkable. He didn't need formal training to make the ship perform incredible feats. His human intuition, shaped by years of observing, cleaning, and solving everyday problems, allowed him to find solutions the advanced aliens could not. Where others relied on technology alone, Jard relied on creativity. The next challenge came unexpectedly. Representatives from one of the alien empires arrived, insisting that the ship should be theirs. They were powerful, armed with fleets capable of overwhelming any planetary defense. They had come prepared to use force. Jard had no weapons, no fleet, only the wild star and his quick thinking. The ship's voice entered his mind. They believe you are weak. They will attempt aggression. What do you wish to do? But we'll show them they can't take us easily. When the alien fleet opened fire, their energy beams bounced harmlessly off invisible shields. The wild star moved with unnatural speed, weaving between blasts, drawing the attackers into traps without firing a single weapon. Jard's mind raced, combining instinct, observation, and creativity. A misplaced crate or beam became a tool, a cover, a decoy. By the end of the confrontation, the alien representatives withdrew, frustrated and confused. They had encountered the most advanced warship in the galaxy, and it was being controlled by a human janitor who had never seen battle before. Whispers spread across the station. The wild star obeys a human. How is this possible? The ship hovered silently, its energy hums gentle and approving. He realized that strength did not always come from firepower or numbers. Sometimes intelligence, creativity, and patience were far more powerful. The next morning, station officials approached him cautiously. "We have been observing," one said. "Your connection with the ship, it is unprecedented. We would like to understand it." The ship's bond was no longer just a secret. It was becoming a symbol of humanity's untapped potential. He felt a quiet pride, though he kept sweeping floors and mopping corridors as usual. Pride, he realized, could coexist with humility. Over the following weeks, Jard experimented further. He discovered that the ship could amplify his thoughts, allowing him to interact with distant systems on the station. He could detect malfunctions, repair energy conduits, and even improve station efficiency, all with minimal effort. The crew around him started to see the benefits of a human mind working in tandem with alien intelligence. He also began to understand the ship itself. It had a personality, wild and curious, yet disciplined when needed. It was capable of aggression but had learned restraint. It was capable of destruction but chose precision. And it had chosen him because humans were unpredictable in a way no alien could foresee. Where others relied on brute force or arrogance, Jard relied on observation, patience, and subtle ingenuity. One night, Jard floated near a window, gazing at Earth. The planet's blue oceans and green continents glowed under the sunlight. He thought about the possibilities. If humans could interact with the wild star in ways the galaxy's greatest civilizations could not, then maybe Earth was not as insignificant as others thought. The ship's voice echoed in his mind softly, almost like a whisper. "You are growing. Soon the galaxy will notice. Your species will be seen differently because of you. Will you continue?" Jard still cleaned corridors, still polished panels, and still fixed small malfunctions, but he also trained with the ship. He learned to move it precisely, to understand its energy flows, and to anticipate complex scenarios. He discovered that the combination of human intuition and alien technology was more than powerful. It was revolutionary. And for the first time in his life, Jard understood that being unnoticed was not a weakness. It had allowed him to survive, to observe, to learn, and to become the only one the wild star could trust. While others had sought power or recognition, he had simply lived, quietly and attentively, and that had made him extraordinary. The universe beyond the station was vast and full of dangers, but Jard felt ready. With a mind grounded in humanity and a warship capable of unimaginable feats, he knew that challenges ahead could be met in ways no one had ever imagined. He had not sought greatness, yet it had found him. And in the quiet hum of the wild star, the janitor and the ship prepared together for what would come next. Jard had never seen anything like it before. The alert sirens of the station screamed through every corridor as the first warning lights blinked red. Through the observation windows, he could see a fleet of alien warships approaching. They were massive, armed to the teeth, and moving with confidence that bordered on arrogance. He could hear the murmurs of the staff behind him, their fear palpable. They had never faced anything on this scale. The wild star hummed softly beneath him. Its surface glimmered, responding to his presence as always, but now the hum had a different rhythm, alert, ready. Jard floated in zero gravity beside one of the control panels, heart racing. "They're going to attack," he said aloud, though he did not need to. The ship already knew. "They believe you are weak," the ship's voice replied in his mind. "They will test you. Will you resist?" He was no soldier, no commander. But he had something the fleet did not expect: human creativity. The first salvo struck without warning. Energy beams arced through space toward the station. Jard could see them hitting barriers, bouncing off protective shields, but the main docking bay was vulnerable. He raised his hands instinctively, and the wild star responded. Its energy flared outward, forming a protective field around the station, absorbing the initial impact. The fleet fired again and again, but the shields held, bending and shifting with each strike as if guided by thought itself. Jard realized that speed alone would not win this encounter. The fleet's firepower was too great. He had to think differently. He scanned the docking bay, looking for anything that could be used. The old cargo drones, usually ignored and malfunctioning, floated in clusters nearby. Their sensors were basic, their bodies lightweight, but he had an idea. He tapped a sequence on the holographic console, and the wild star projected energy lines around the drones. Then with a thought, he guided them outward toward the approaching fleet. The drones moved erratically, seemingly independent, creating confusing patterns. The alien ships hesitated, unsure of what they were seeing. Energy beams fired at the drones missed the wild star entirely. Jard smiled nervously. It worked. The fleet was powerful, but they were not expecting a human to use improvisation in battle. He could almost hear their confusion through the ship's communication scanners. The wild star hummed approval, adjusting its shields and energy output to complement his plan. He took a deep breath and moved on to the next idea. The docking bay had maintenance beams, used to lift heavy cargo containers. He guided them mentally, swinging them into paths that created narrow corridors. The fleet's ships, large and rigid, had difficulty navigating the sudden barriers. Jard combined this with the energy drones, and the result was chaos for the invaders. Hours seemed to pass in moments. Jard felt the rhythm of the ship, the flow of energy, and the movement of the fleet. He realized he could anticipate their attacks by observing patterns, not just reacting to them. Where others would rely on raw firepower, he relied on observation, improvisation, and timing. He felt alive in a way he never had before. The fleet attempted a direct assault on the wild star itself. Massive energy beams converged on the hull, threatening to penetrate its defenses. Jard guided the ship in sudden, unpredictable maneuvers. It twisted and accelerated in impossible ways, using gravity fields and energy flares to redirect attacks. Every motion was intuitive, almost playful, yet precise. The fleet fired repeatedly, but the ship danced around the beams, never once allowing a strike to land. The wild star's voice resonated in his mind. "You are remarkable." Few beings could coordinate such complexity without formal training. Your human mind is efficient in ways others fail to see. Humanity's strength lies in these qualities. The fleet tried to encircle the wild star, forcing it into a corner. Jard noticed a small gravitational anomaly near one of the station's old satellite arrays. A thought struck him. He directed the ship toward it, causing the anomaly to shift slightly. It pulled the alien ships off course, slamming one into another. The impact caused a chain reaction that damaged several of the attackers' vessels. The station's staff watched in awe. Humans had been considered weak, insignificant, and technologically inferior. And yet, a janitor was controlling the most advanced warship in the galaxy, outsmarting an entire fleet through creativity and observation alone. Jard knew the fight was far from over. The fleet regrouped, sending a smaller strike team to attack directly. He smiled faintly, thinking of an old strategy he had used in the docking bay with maintenance drones. He mentally divided the wild star's energy output, projecting it outward in invisible patterns. The attacking ships were met with sudden flares, energy walls, and countermeasures they could not anticipate. One by one, they were forced to retreat, unable to cope with the unpredictability of a human mind guiding a sentient warship. Finally, the fleet withdrew entirely, leaving behind a wake of disabled ships and stunned alien crews. Jard floated in zero gravity, breathing heavily, his heart racing with exhilaration. The wild star hummed softly, almost like a sigh of relief. "You have performed admirably," the ship said. "Few beings in the galaxy could achieve this. You have saved the station, and your species has proven itself in ways no one anticipated." The others sought dominance, control, or fame. "You act with purpose, clarity, and adaptability. That is strength. That is humanity." The idea of a janitor controlling the galaxy's most advanced warship captured imaginations everywhere. Jard, however, remained grounded. He continued his cleaning duties, swept floors, and repaired minor systems. Yet now, every action he took carried weight. He was no longer just a janitor. He was a representative of humanity's potential, proof that ordinary individuals could achieve extraordinary feats when given the right tools and circumstances. In the following days, Jard spent more time with the Wild Star, learning not only how to operate it, but how to communicate with it. He discovered that the ship could anticipate human thought patterns, adjust systems intuitively, and even provide advice during complex scenarios. It had chosen him not only because of his mind, but because of his calm approach, his patience, and his ability to solve problems in ways no one else had considered. One evening, Jard floated near the observation window, gazing at Earth below. The planet's blue oceans shimmered in sunlight, green continents spreading like a living map. He thought of his home, of the people who had never believed in him or seen his potential. Now, he realized that the universe had done what people had never done. It had recognized his value, not through status or power, but through action, thought, and humanity. The Wild Star's voice entered his mind, gentle and thoughtful. "You have faced the first challenge. Many more will come. But know this, your species possesses qualities few understand. You have proven it. You will continue to do so. I don't know what comes next, but I'll do my best." And in that moment, Jard understood that being ordinary was not a weakness. Being human, with all the creativity, adaptability, and quiet determination it entailed, was enough. Even in the vastness of space, amidst fleets and civilizations far older and stronger than Earth, a single human could make a difference. The Wild Star hummed softly, a sound that resonated through Jard's mind and through the docking bay. He floated there, feeling the connection fully, understanding that he was no longer alone. He had a partner, a guide, and a force beyond anything the galaxy had ever seen. He smiled, knowing that the next challenges would be greater. But he also knew that he and the Wild Star could meet them. With human ingenuity, creativity, and courage, they could face anything. And the galaxy, whether it realized it yet or not, was about to see humanity in a way it had never imagined. After the battle, the station had settled into an uneasy calm. The alien fleet had retreated, but their presence had left a mark, a reminder of how fragile the peace in space could be. Jard floated through the corridors of the Wild Star, still amazed at how the ship responded to him with every step, every touch. It was alive in a way that no machine should be, yet it trusted him completely, as if recognizing something unique in humanity. For the first time, Jard allowed himself to explore the ship freely. Holographic panels lit up at his approach, guiding him to systems he had not yet seen. He moved cautiously, but curiosity propelled him forward. The Wild Star's voice echoed in his mind, gentle and encouraging. "You are learning quickly. There are secrets in my systems, hidden since my creation. Are you ready to discover them?" I don't know what I'll find." A soft hum filled the air, deeper than the usual vibrations he felt on the hull. He could see floating holographic symbols, shifting in patterns that were almost musical in their rhythm. "Welcome to the core," the ship said. "This is where my history is stored. You may access what you are ready for, but remember, understanding is earned." They displayed ancient star charts, fleets, and worlds Jard had never heard of. Some showed wars, some showed discoveries, and some showed civilizations long gone. He realized this ship was not just a weapon. It was a repository of knowledge, a witness to the rise and fall of species across galaxies. How much do you know?" Jard asked, awe in his voice. "I remember everything I have observed," the ship replied. "But memory alone is meaningless without context. That is why I seek a partner, a mind capable of creativity and insight. You, human, possess that." He had never imagined that a simple janitor could have such an influence, yet here he was, trusted by the most powerful ship in the galaxy. He spent hours exploring the core, learning how to access different systems, how to read alien languages, and how to interpret symbols through logic and pattern recognition. The ship adapted its teaching to his mind, showing him what he could understand without overwhelming him. In one session, Jard discovered a series of encrypted messages hidden deep within the ship's memory. They were warnings from the ship's creators, messages meant to guide the next wielder. They spoke of empires that had tried to harness the wild star's power for domination and failed. They spoke of civilizations destroyed by arrogance and short-sightedness. They underestimated the intelligence guiding this vessel, Jard murmured. They tried to use it as a weapon, and it refused. That is why I chose you. Jard learned to interface with alien networks, detect anomalies in star systems, and anticipate potential threats before they arrived. He even discovered a way to predict natural phenomena, like solar flares and asteroid movements, using the ship's advanced sensors combined with his human intuition. The wild star adjusted and amplified his understanding, creating a partnership unlike any other. Then a new challenge arrived. A diplomatic envoy from a powerful interstellar coalition requested a meeting. They had heard of Jard and the wild star and were curious, some said even fearful, about the implications. They wanted to see the human who had outmaneuvered an entire fleet, and they wanted assurances that Earth would not become a threat in their eyes. Jard was nervous. He had never negotiated with alien diplomats before, let alone represented humanity. Yet he knew one thing. He would rely on the same skills that had carried him through the battle: observation, creativity, and honesty. The wild star guided him through the process, projecting a calm presence and subtly influencing environmental factors to create a sense of balance and respect. The diplomats arrived, sleek and imposing in their ships, expecting a human to be insignificant. Jard floated into the meeting chamber, feeling the weight of thousands of eyes upon him. "Human," one of the ambassadors said, its voice mechanical yet filled with authority. "We understand you control the wild star. How does a species so young manage such power?" "I don't control it in the way you think. It responds to me because I act with care, observation, and understanding. It does not serve those who seek domination. It serves those who are responsible. That is all I have done." They had never encountered a being who spoke with honesty instead of arrogance, who approached power with humility rather than greed. "Yet you have defended yourself against our fleets," another said. "This was not merely observation, was it?" "We can protect without destroying." No one had considered the value of quiet intelligence, perseverance, and human ingenuity. Over the following weeks, Jard worked with the diplomats, demonstrating how humans could solve complex problems without resorting to conflict. He used the wild star to repair damaged systems in nearby stations, create temporary shelters on contested planets, and assist in resource distribution where crises had struck. Every action was simple in method but effective in result. The wild star, always present, guided him but allowed him to take the lead. It marveled at how humans could improvise, adapt, and solve problems in ways even its creators had not predicted. Every success reinforced its bond with Jard, deepening the partnership between human and machine. One evening, as Jard floated through the docking bay, he reflected on how far things had come. From a simple janitor, he had become a symbol of human potential. His species had been underestimated, dismissed as weak and unremarkable. Yet here he was, trusted by the most powerful warship in existence, interacting with alien civilizations on terms of respect rather than fear. The ship's voice broke his thoughts. "Human, you are growing into your role. Others will challenge you, test you, and perhaps fear you. But remember, your strength lies not in destruction, but in thinking, creativity, and understanding. You are proof that humans are more capable than they have been given credit for. I'll use it only to protect and help, not to dominate or harm. Your species will be noticed, not through war, but through ingenuity and perseverance." They no longer saw themselves as small, insignificant, or powerless. Meanwhile, news of Jard's achievements spread across nearby systems. Aliens who had once ignored humanity now watched with curiosity and respect. They observed how a single human could work in harmony with a sentient warship, achieving results that fleets of experienced officers had failed to accomplish. Jard knew this was just the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown dangers and challenges, but he had learned something important. Humans were adaptable, inventive, and capable of more than anyone, including himself, had imagined. And with the wild star at his side, he was ready to face whatever came next. Floating in the observation chamber, Jard looked at the stars. He thought about Earth, about the people who had never believed in him, and about the potential of his species. The wild star hummed beside him, steady and strong. Together, they had proven that intelligence, creativity, and empathy were just as powerful as any weapon. And in that realization, Jard felt a quiet pride. Humanity had begun to earn its place in the galaxy, not through conquest, but through ingenuity, adaptability, and the courage to act responsibly when it mattered most. The journey ahead would be long and uncertain, but he knew one thing with certainty. He and the wild star could face it together, and the universe would never underestimate humans again. Months had passed since Jard first bonded with the wild star. In that time, the human janitor had transformed, not in body, but in influence and understanding. Earth's place in the galaxy was quietly shifting. Other civilizations were watching, taking note of this unexpected rise, and wondering how a species they once dismissed could accomplish so much with a single human at the helm of the most advanced warship ever built. Jard moved through the ship's corridors, floating in zero gravity, observing the systems as if they were an extension of himself. Every panel responded to his presence. Lights pulsed softly, reflecting his thoughts. He had spent countless hours learning, experimenting, and exploring the ship's capabilities. But now, a new challenge awaited, one that would test the bond between human and warship in ways neither had yet experienced. A fleet appeared on the station's sensors. Unlike the previous attackers, this was not a simple raid or skirmish. These ships belonged to a coalition of civilizations, united by fear of what humanity might become. They carried advanced weaponry, coordinated strategies, and years of experience. Their intent was clear. They wanted to test, contain, or even destroy the wild star and its human partner. Jard took a deep breath, feeling the familiar hum of the ship beneath him. "They're here," he said. "And I think they want to fight." And humans, he realized, were masters of adaptation. The fleet advanced, sending probes first. Jard observed carefully, noting patterns in their movements and energy signatures. Unlike the previous fleet, these opponents coordinated with precision. But Jard had something they lacked: unpredictability, creativity, and the ability to see opportunities that rigid minds could not. He directed the wild star to create subtle energy fluctuations, bending light and sensors in ways that confused the enemy. Their long-range scans misread the station, misjudging distances and positions. Small drones, initially ignored, were repurposed as decoys, guided by Jard's intuition to create chaos in the enemy formation. One ship attempted to charge directly at the wild star. Jard thought quickly, remembering the maintenance beams in the docking bay from the last battle. He manipulated the station's outer structures, redirecting energy fields to create barriers in the ship's path. The enemy vessel collided with one of these barriers, disabling its engines and forcing it to drift helplessly. The wild star responded with perfect synchronization, its systems flowing seamlessly with Jard's commands. He realized he could project parts of his mind through the ship, predicting movements, anticipating attacks, and orchestrating defenses in real time. It was exhausting, yet exhilarating. He was no longer just a janitor. He was the embodiment of human potential in action. The enemy fleet adapted quickly. They began to use unpredictable maneuvers, attempting to outsmart what they perceived as a single human controlling the warship. But Jard had already learned to anticipate patterns, to improvise, and to think creatively. He guided the wild star to mimic environmental phenomena, solar flares, gravitational anomalies, and energy distortions, to create obstacles that disrupted the fleet. Each maneuver drew from his human intuition, not brute force but intelligence and observation. Hours passed, yet the fleet could not breach the defenses or corner the wild star. Every strike they launched was anticipated, every trap countered. Slowly, frustration grew among the coalition's commanders. They had faced the galaxy's most advanced warships before, but none had ever responded like this. The combination of human ingenuity and alien technology was unpredictable, unstoppable. Finally, the lead ship attempted a final strike, a concentrated attack meant to overwhelm the wild star in a single blow. Jard's heart raced, but he remained calm. He had learned to remain calm under pressure, to observe first and act second. He directed the wild star to disperse its energy subtly across multiple vectors, creating mirrored projections of itself. The lead ship fired, only to hit empty space repeatedly as the projections misled sensors and targeting systems. Then, Jard acted. Using the ship's adaptive systems, he created a controlled energy pulse that disabled the lead ship's weapons without harming its crew. The fleet hesitated, stunned by what had just occurred. They had expected destruction, but instead they faced a display of control, intelligence, and mercy. "Humanity," Jard said softly, speaking through the ship's communication channels. "We do not wish to destroy. We wish only to protect, to explore, and to create. If you seek conflict, you will find none here. If you seek understanding, you are welcome." The wild star hummed in agreement, its lights pulsing softly. He had not only defended the station and Earth, but had also shown the galaxy a new way to measure strength, not by power alone, but by creativity, wisdom, and restraint. Over the following weeks, the galaxy began to change its perception of humanity. Reports of Jard and the wild star spread across star systems. Humans were no longer dismissed as weak or unremarkable. Other civilizations began to study human methods, marveling at how a species with simple beginnings could achieve so much through ingenuity and adaptability. Back on the station, Jard continued his work. He swept floors, repaired minor malfunctions, and assisted staff as he had always done. Yet now, every action carried significance. People began to approach him not with suspicion or dismissal, but with respect. He was a symbol of what humans could achieve when they combined thought, care, and courage. He also spent time exploring the deeper capabilities of the wild star. The ship revealed hidden sections, star maps, and systems that no other being had ever accessed. Together, they discovered abandoned colonies, lost technologies, and civilizations that had disappeared long ago. Each discovery reinforced the idea that humanity, guided by insight and creativity, could connect with the universe in ways no one had anticipated. One evening, Jard floated in the observation chamber, gazing at Earth below. The planet's oceans shimmered under sunlight, cities glimmering like tiny constellations. He thought of the people who had never believed in him, of the quiet strength he had developed through years of ordinary work. And he realized that greatness did not always begin with power or ambition. It often began with patience, curiosity, and simple human determination. The wild star's voice entered his mind, calm and proud. "You have proven that humans are capable of much more than they or others believed. Your species has the potential to influence the galaxy, not through force alone, but through ingenuity, empathy, and adaptability. You have shown this in your actions, human." "I just wanted to do what was right." They realized that a single human, acting with intelligence and creativity, could achieve what entire fleets of advanced civilizations could not. Humanity's reputation grew, not because of domination or conquest, but because of ingenuity, courage, and the quiet brilliance of ordinary individuals rising to extraordinary challenges. Jard continued his daily routines, sweeping floors, repairing systems, and studying the ship. Yet he also became a guide for Earth and humanity, showing that intelligence, patience, and creativity were as powerful as any weapon. And the wild star, enormous and alive, remained by his side, responding to his thoughts, adapting to his ideas, and trusting him completely. One day, as they traveled through a previously uncharted sector, Jard thought about the journey they had shared. From a janitor who had been invisible to a symbol of human potential in the galaxy, he had learned that strength came in many forms. It came from observation, from creativity, from courage, and from the willingness to act responsibly when it mattered most. The wild star pulsed, sensing his thoughts. "You have grown, human. Together we will continue to explore, to protect, and to guide. Humanity has earned its place among the stars, and it is only the beginning. Sometimes the ordinary can do extraordinary things." And so Jard and the wild star continued their journey, partners in exploration, guardians of peace, and proof that humans, even in their simplest forms, could achieve greatness. Humanity's story had just begun, and the galaxy would never again underestimate the strength of a human mind guided by courage, creativity, and the quiet power of doing what is right.